Welcome to the Three Questions webcast series. I'm Wayne Baxter, Executive Director with One Capital Management. At One Capital Management, we develop and implement strategies that enable our clients to grow, protect, and ultimately distribute their wealth. And by doing so, we do that by offering investment wealth management services. Thank you for taking time to check us out. My clients are often referred to as cross-border clients. Why is that? Well, it's because they are either U.S. or Canadian residents who invest in either U.S. and or Canadian denominated securities like stocks, bonds, and ETFs. Our process for advising our clients includes an in-depth discovery and diagnostic analysis of their wealth management goals and objectives. And as one would expect, that analysis will include a review of their estate planning strategy. Today, we're going to take an even deeper dive into the estate planning strategy, and we're going to discuss special needs trusts. And our webcast today, we're going to be reviewing the 3 questions you should ask about special needs planning. And joining me is Ellen Cookman. Ellen is a Palo Alto, California-based certified specialist in estate planning, trust administration, and probate law. And she's also the owner and principal attorney with Cookman Law PC. Ellen, welcome to the 3 Questions webcast. Thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thanks so much, Wayne. I always have such a good time talking with you.
Yeah, I know. We've had some interesting cases we've been trying to work on here over the last little while, and I certainly enjoy it myself. I thought before we get right into talking about estate planning, I thought, well, that a lot of my clients are expat Canadians who've relocated to the United States. Some of them are in the Bay Area. And so just based on your experience, why don't we just start by just talking a little bit about why someone should seriously begin considering establishing an estate plan?
You bet. Yeah. So really the issue is what happens if you're sick or when you're gone? What happens to your stuff? Who manages things? How do your kids or your loved ones inherit? And, we have to do this planning before we get sick or we die. And unfortunately, we don't know when that is. So, the sooner the better, especially if you're traveling a lot, if you're worried that something could happen, in California, and each state is different. But in California, we have a probate court system that's antiquated and it's horrible. And it takes a whole long time for everything to go through. It's public. It's expensive. That's kind of the default method if you don't set up your own estate plan.
So in reality, you have an estate plan, but it's just maybe not the best one.
Well, I'd say get one in place and then, take it to somebody who knows what they're doing. The challenge with estate planning is you don't know if your estate plan is going to work until you're gone. And then it's kind of too late. Then you're leaving a mess for the next generation. So I know there's forms out there and stuff, but I'd say, working with forms is probably about 1/3 of what I do. A lot of what I do is issue spotting, is making sure that things will really carry out. We've done a lot of estate planning where we've done the back end, the trust administration after somebody's gone. And we've made sure that it works really well. So you want to make sure that things are lined up for a smooth transition.
I guess you should also mention another thing. If you move to the United States and you have young children, there's also it's not just about being alive and having an estate plan to pass your wealth on, but you also have the issue of making sure you have proper guardians for your children.
That's right.
And then we have
now that always goes through the court system, but you do want to nominate guardians. And if you have somebody in mind back in Canada, that's okay, but you need to spell out who would be temporary guardians while people are lining up their visas or they're figuring out the court system, to make sure that the people that you feel most comfortable with raising your kids are the ones who ultimately get chosen.
And then you have the other issue, of course, if you're just recently moved to the United States, you're from Canada and you're down here and you're trying to get yourself established and really probably don't have those in-depth relationships like you would back in Canada. There's the issue of who's going to be the trustee of your estate, who's going to act on your behalf. So it's like the term they use down here, of course, is successor trustee. I think you can confirm this, but if you have a Canadian as your successor trustee, that can pose some problems as well. So it'd be better to have someone based here in the US, is based on my experience anyway.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So, you can be a non-US citizen and set up a trust. That's no problem. But if you name the successor trustee, the next manager of the trust, if you name a non-US citizen, then it becomes a foreign trust, which has bad income tax implications. Basically, the government is worried that the successor trustee is going to take all the money and go to the home country, and they won't get to tax it anymore. So they tax it all up front, which is a horrible scenario. So sometimes we have Canadian citizens acting as co-trustee with a US bank to kind of root things in the US. Or you can choose a private fiduciary here in California, or a bank. So those are ways to get around that and find someone who really knows what they're doing, who can manage things in the future.
Okay, so that's just this is a topic unto itself. We could
that's true.
So let's now just dig a little deeper and talk about an area that I know is near and dear to your profession, and that is the area of special needs trust. So the 3 questions you should ask about special needs planning. We'll start off with the first one. When might I need a special needs trust for my loved one?
Yeah. So this is such a good question. And a lot of people ask me because there's such a range of special needs out there, whether it's mental health challenges, developmental delays, physical health challenges. And so people wonder, what kind of trust do I need for my child when I'm gone, right? And so you look to see, okay, is your child receiving public benefits, or might they need public benefits? That might be one reason to set up a special needs trust. Another reason might be that your child just can't manage money that well. So they'll need some type of protective trust, whether it's a special needs trust or a different type of trust, like a lifetime trust or a dynasty trust, just where somebody else is set up to manage things, even though the money is available for the benefit of the child. But a special needs trust is especially designed so that the trustee has full discretion over distributions. And because the child can't direct the trustee to make distributions and can't revoke the trust, doesn't have power over that trust, it doesn't count as the child's money. And so they can have $1 million, $2 million in a special needs trust and still qualify for public benefits where they need to have under $2,000 of countable assets. So they can still get their income stream, their health insurance, and have this wonderful safety net of money to pay for anything that public benefits doesn't pay for, which, by the way, are a lot of things, right? There's a lot of other things that need to be covered.
All right, so I guess the next question, obvious question would be is, who should act as the trustee? We talked earlier about a successor trustee.
Right.
In this instance, would it be the same person, or who should be my child's special needs trust trustee? Who should be?
So it could be the same person, but it might be a different person, because when you're looking at who would act as successor trustee of your trust, your revocable trust, to avoid probate, then usually that's a shorter period of time. That's, after you die or while you're sick, and to kind of wrap things up and get them to the next generation. The trustee of a special needs trust needs to be around for a long time. You might have a child who's 3 years old and lives to age 90. That's a long time that a successor trustee needs to be up and running, right? So a lot of times banks can be a good choice just because they have the longevity. They also have the experience. Now, sometimes they charge a little bit more. Usually they charge a percentage, and you need to have like $1 million under management. And not all banks, by the way, will act as trustee of special needs trusts. Only a few actually do.
Well, the private fiduciary, is that also an option for a special needs trust trustee?
I think private fiduciaries are a great choice. The main drawback, of course, is the longevity, right? Because you're naming an individual, and they're not going to be around as long as the 3-year-old will.
Right? Ideally, it should be a private fiduciary who has their own sort of infrastructure, where there's a succession plan of other trustees that can take over, just to keep the ball moving.
Exactly. I love seeing that. And you'll want to name a private fiduciary who's nearby. who can check in on your child, you know, and not, again, not all private fiduciaries act as trustee of special needs trusts, but a lot do. Now, I want to say, Wayne, that the people that I don't recommend as, and you might find this funny, as successor trustee is the disabled child's sibling. A lot of time,
that's
right?
not surprising.
Not surprising, but that's usually just the default that people go to. I have two kids, right? I have a 9-year-old who has high functioning autism and an 8-year-old who's neurotypical. Although sometimes he gives us more problems than the 9-year-old, right? But you know, but a lot of parents come in and they go, well, you know, Susie, right, Joey's sister is involved, and we'll just have her act as successor trustee, right, of Joey's special needs trust. And you're shaking your head because you know where I'm going with this, right? Because that really creates a lot of conflict between the siblings, right? I mean, the disabled kid is really now upset that his sister, maybe even his younger sister, is now the gatekeeper for his money. And then Susie doesn't like this because she's trying to live her highest and best life. And maybe she's, you know, moved up to the city or out to New York or wherever. She doesn't want to be the surrogate financial parent for her brother. I mean, that's a full-time job. If you have kids with special needs, you know, like that's not an easy task.
You know, when you said, I know what it made me think about is that a lot of the poor estate planning, or we'll say no estate planning, what it often does is you end up with the siblings becoming deep rivals.
Yes.
You basically just create unnecessary conflict. So the idea of an overall estate plan, notwithstanding the need for a special needs trust, is basically creating harmony.
Yes.
Right? That's the ultimate goal of taking care of the people that you love, creating harmony instead of chaos when you are either incapable of representing yourself because of an injury or illness, or if you ultimately pass away. I know you have probably many more stories than even I have about it's just horrible when there's no plan in place and you end up with basically siblings fighting with each other for what they feel they are justly owed.
Right. For conflicts dating back to when they were 6 years old and somebody got the big wheels and the other person didn't, you know, and there's always, I need to make that equal, right? When you combine the death of a loved one, who often was the mediator, plus money, so it's, you know, recipe for explosion.
Yes, I can confirm.
Right?
I can confirm. I've been witness to that.
Yeah.
So third question of the 3 questions you should ask about special needs planning. Question number 3, what is the difference between a special needs trust and an ABLE account? People hear about these ABLE accounts are intended for people with special needs. Can you maybe just describe what the difference is?
Oh, you bet. So an ABLE account is really, it's a savings account for a disabled person that's modeled after the 529 plan, an education savings plan. Right. It's actually called a 529A plan. So the idea is you can add a certain amount of money to it. This year it's $16,000 each year, and the child still qualifies for public benefits. The ABLE account is a great savings tool, but it's not meant to supplant the special needs trust, because hopefully you're intending to leave more than $16,000 to your child for their inheritance. So the special needs trust is really meant for a larger lump sum, whereas the ABLE account, it can receive gifts from grandparents. Let's say they want to give $10,000 to each grandkid, but if they give Joey the $10,000, it bumps him off of his SSI and Medi-Cal benefits, right? So it can go into Joey's ABLE account instead. Now, the ABLE account, it can go up to $100,000, and then Joey would stop receiving SSI benefits, which is the income stream, but he can keep receiving Medi-Cal benefits, which is the health insurance program. So there's certain ways that you make sure that the ABLE account is being used properly.
So it basically complements a special needs trust.
It does, right? So they act side by side each other. They're different tools meant for different purposes.
And basically, by taking making proper use of them, what you end up doing is enabling the special needs person to have access to more benefits. And if you,
that's right. Perfect. That's right. Because those two actually interact with each other in powerful ways.
So I guess just a couple more questions, maybe
Yeah.
above and beyond. So when should you begin looking into setting up a special needs trust? Is it like when is it? How do you time that? When do you plan for it? Like, what's the strategy there?
Yeah, well, so a lot of people come to me when their kid is first diagnosed and they're not sure how their child will do. Like my 9-year-old Caleb, he's really bright. He's really genuinely nice, cool kid, but socially he has some trouble with interactions with others. So I don't know if he's going to be able to work and support himself. So, one thing you can do is actually set up your trust, your revocable trust, to have a little toggle switch in it to say, if Caleb is able to work and support himself, then it toggles over to a trust that Caleb can manage. And if he's not able to work and support himself because of his disabilities, it toggles over to a special needs trust. So I really think, the earlier the better. It's kind of like a tube of toothpaste. Once you're gone, it's hard to put things back in. So
I use that analogy all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's too funny. You're even bringing that up. I was talking about that earlier today. I'm going to ask this. Okay, so let's say it's a situation like we're talking this in the context of having a young child, discovering they're disabled, they have some developmental delays or disabilities. Does a special needs trust possibly apply for someone who is an adult age? Like what's sort of the cutoff? You have to have a special needs trust set up by this. Like, is there any limitations that way?
No, it's meant for adult children. So it's funny when I talk about children, they could be 60-year-old children. It's somebody that you love that you're looking out for. Sometimes we set up special needs trusts for parents. It could be used for anyone who might need the financial management and or the protection for public benefits.
Very interesting. Yeah. So I guess just to wrap up here, and again, as I had fully anticipated, and you once again exceeded my expectations here. Just to wrap up, if someone watching today thought to themselves, this is really a topic I should really learn more about, how would they be able to reach out to you and arrange at least an initial consultation? What's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, well, so they can go to our website and we have a little click to book a free initial call. And that's cookmanlaw.com. So COOKMANLAW.com. And also, Wayne, as you know, I recently started a YouTube channel. So that's a really great way to just find out more information. I have a lot of videos now on the channel talking about special needs trust, ABLE account. Does your child need a special needs trust? All the topics that we've talked about today. I've tried to think preemptively, like what do parents really worry about? What keeps people up at night? My goal is really to help parents sleep at night. It's hard enough as you get older to sleep, and we worry about so many things, right? So you really want things to be set up. So yeah, and we're happy to talk with you, see if we're the right fit. If not, we always love giving referrals to others. So whatever works.
Yeah, and I think the big thing in the work that you do is the collaboration between the trustees, whether it be a bank or even like a private fiduciary. Those are going to be a natural collaborator along with the financial advisor. Again, I want to thank you so much, Ellen, and thank you for your time today. We've been speaking with Ellen Cookman. Again, Ellen is a Palo Alto, California-based certified specialist in estate planning, trust administration, and probate law. And Ellen, I want to thank you for your time today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much, Wayne.
Okay. I look forward to bringing you these 3 questions webcasts, and I hope you find them educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And to receive notifications when our latest webcast will be posted, please click on the notifications bell. Lastly, to schedule an online Zoom consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below that says www.onecapital.com/meet with Wayne. Thank you and see you soon.